Hello everyone, welcome back to the Toy Corner. My name is Fet, and today we're continuing to add toys to the shelf with some Star Wars, but no Masterverse, just like last video. This time though, we have a nice little variety. As I mentioned, Star Wars, we have a nice Superman here, at least I think he'll be nice, we'll take a look at him. We have another premium finished Transformer. I think this is the last of the the 04, I think it's the last of the line, I don't know. And of course we have Chun from Jada Toys' Street Fighter 2 Ultra line. I'm not really that big of a Street Fighter fan, but boy, these toys are probably going to change my mind. But that's enough preface, let's go ahead and open the toys. We'll start the day off with our Transformers Premium Finish GE04. It's the normal black box without really anything going on, so let's open it up. With the initial black box out of the way, we see this is our War for Cybertron Trilogy Starscream. Now this box is much nicer. We have some very shiny text. We have nice views of the toys on a grid, which is reminiscent of the old Transformers toys from the 80s that I don't have any real connection to. Of course, the side, the back, the language I cannot read, but hope to one day. Maybe. We'll see. And of course, more on the side. But all the box really does is look nice, sell you the toy, and then keep you away from it until you open. And here's our boy Starscream out of the box. Doesn't he look impressive? What an amazing figure, what great detail. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love all the carbon scoring or the battle damage that they put on these premium figures. The paint job really does make it worth the little bit of extra that you have to spend. I absolutely love this. Now, I'm sure you heard him rattling around in the box before I opened him up. That's because technically this is my second time taking him out of the box. Normally I like to open the toys right on camera for you, but for Starscream, for Transformers, I generally want to have an idea of what the transformation is before I transform them, just so I don't have to take that extra time, wasting your time, wasting my time trying to figure it out. Accessory-wise, of course, he has his null rays, which belong in his arm, but you can take out and you can plug in to his hands. Later for the transformation, you'll see they plug in up here, so you have some good weapon storage options, and as I'm always saying, options are a good thing. I like options. Give me more options. He has all the articulation you would expect with a Transformers War for Cybertron, Transformers Generation toy, Legacy toy. They all have very similar articulation. He, of course, has the backpack we come to expect with Transformers. All of this is fine. All of this is good. All of this is just, it comes with the territory. I know you can get better looking Transformers that just, they have their robot mode, they can't transform, but they look amazing. But if I'm buying a Transformer, I need it to transform. And speaking of, and there we have him in the fighter jet form, the Cybertronian fighter jet form. It's really just a vehicle. Of course, you get some folded up robot legs, some folded in robot arms, but I mean, it's Transformers. If you don't expect this sort of thing, what are you doing? This isn't a masterpiece, this is a deluxe. It's fine, it's wonderful, I like it. We have a chest plate back here, which of course it actually kind of goes in. The glass back here is a little bit odd. It's the cockpit when he transforms as his chest. It is what it is. I like it, it's nice, it's solid. You could have some fun flying it around if you were so inclined to do so. But yeah, the transformation's pretty easy, but there is one thing about the transformation that I want to discuss. If you purchase this figure, it's something that I found out, it's not unique to mine. So, buyer beware. Now, what I'm talking about deals with Starscream's head. For his transformation, you need to take his head and rotate it all the way back until it clicks in, which also pops this piece out. This piece also pops the head out. It's actually really good design, but when I first opened this figure up, the head would only go back that far. There was a clearance issue inside of the area here with this gray piece of plastic that attaches to the back of his head. Now, you can solve this by removing that piece. But what I did was, I did remove this piece, and I just took in around the edges. I don't know how well you can see it, but the edges in around here. And I just sort of took an X-Acto knife and just cut and rounded the edge, because it was a square edge, just a square flat edge that was hitting against down in here, where this little slot is. again, I don't know how well you can see that, but there's this little slot in here that it's supposed to slide into, but because it was tooled incorrectly or the mold was incorrect, it wouldn't fold in all the way. But all I had to do was pop this plate off, carve a little bit off to round it out, and now the head pops in exactly where it should go without any issues. He actually has, it might be hard to see, I'll try to zoom in. He does have a little bit of paint scratched off of his nose. It was because I didn't realize that this is not far enough for his head to go back, that his head needs to go the whole way back in. Just wanted to let you know, it was just something that I ran into. I did do a search online, and it turns out I'm not the only one. Now, from what I understand, the head transformation issue is only a problem with the premium edition, the regular release of this figure, the siege release of this figure, which is the same mold, it's the same figure, does not have the head rotation problem. However, I have heard that this chest piece is known to fall off on the siege release, whereas I have never had this pop off or come off unintentionally on this release, so pick your poison, I guess. Either way, they're both generally easy fixes. If this falls off, push it back in place, or if you have this version, just either take this panel back here off, or round it out the edges like I did, and it should transform for you just fine. And one feature that I wanted to point out before I forget, the figure does have light piping. I hope that's coming across on the camera, I hope you can see that, but I do like that a lot of Transformers have that feature. Little issues with the transformation, little defects aside, I absolutely love Starscream, and I am happy to add him to the toy shelf. Moving right along to our DC Multiverse Superman. I was somewhat excited for this Superman. I'm not the biggest Superman fan, but a lot of Superman toys that I've seen in the DC Multiverse often have him with an angry face, a fighting face. It's so few and far between that you get a smiling face. So I wanted to jump on getting this figure as soon as I could. I like the lighter blue, I like the brighter reds, and I think Superman should always be a more happy, positive, inspiring character when he can be. Tracking down this figure it took a little bit of effort when it first went up for pre-order. I ended up having to get mine from Best Buy, which was probably a mistake because they don't handle their collectibles with the best of care. Now, obviously, if I was an in-box collector, that would be a problem. They roughed it up here and smashed here, but I like to open up my boxes anyway, so as long as the figure itself is fine, I usually don't have a problem with a little bit of battle damage. We've seen enough of the front. We'll take a quick look at the back, which has a classic, I think this is a Silver Age Superman, maybe it's a Golden Age Superman, I don't know enough to say, but as you can see, he's smiling, he's flying through the air. This is the Superman that this figure is inspired from, if not exactly based on him. Well, hey, look, the QR code, why don't you scan that? Have fun, go wherever that takes you. But I'm not affiliated with that link or DC in any way, so if it takes you somewhere that it shouldn't be, that's not on me. I didn't do that to you. Alright, well, let's say we get Superman opened up. And here we have our Superman out of the box. How could I not pose him with his hands in that age-old superhero pose, hands resting on the hips. We'll take a good look at his costume, the cape. I wish, honestly, that this was a cloth cape. I would have been happy with them making this like a gold label and making this a cloth cape. I mean, it looks okay. It's wind blow. It looks okay. It doesn't give you a lot of posing options when it's just molded plastic. I prefer a cloth cape. On these 6-inch figures, I prefer 6 to 7 inch. I think this is a 7-inch. I prefer a cloth goods wired cape. I just think that it's much better. I do like that he has a little swirly up there. What is that called? The hair swoop? The curly Q? I don't know. He, of course, has all the articulation you would come to expect with figures in this size range with the DC Multiverse, which of course means he has the ability to break his toes. Although, interestingly enough, and again, I'm not sure how it's coming across on camera, but he does have the Superman S on his boots. I really like that. I think that's a fun little detail. Just something about the DC Multiverse and the detail they like to put in just really resonates with me. Out of the package, of course, we have the fists for giving the business, but of course with Superman, you see that smile. He knows that he's already won. This is Superman we're talking about. He's not there to give you the business, he's there to put a stop to yours. You can swap out the fists for a pair of open-handed, dramatic hands, or perhaps he's singing to Lois in an attempt to woo her. I don't know. It's options. I like options. Options are good. And you can swap those out for a set of outreached flying hands, the classic flying hand pose, although his head can't really come up to look the way that it should when he's flying, but it's good enough. It's nice to have options. And I do like that they included the classic flying hands. I think that's a nice touch. And speaking of flying, they included a nice stand, an articulated stand, which you could use to make him fly. It's nice and clear, it holds him up well, as you can see, it's balanced very well, and yeah, again, options, good thing. I might just pose him on the shelf like this. But as stated before, it is posable, you can change it is articulated, you can change the pose, you can have him sort of in an upright flying. You'd probably put him upside down if you wanted to. You do it the way that you want to do it. But say that you don't want him flying at all, you can take this part off and he can just use it as a standard stand. So many options, so good, very happy to add this Superman to the shelf. But before we grab him, I should, I suppose, also let you know that he does come with one of these cards that has some words and things on the back, if you care to read them, if you can read them. Again, I'm still experimenting with my camera. I record a lot in advance, don't worry about it. Hop up and away. Moving right along, we have Chun-Li from Jada Toys' Street Fighter II Ultra, the Final Challengers line. Whew, what a title that is. I didn't really play Street Fighter growing up. I know who most of the characters are, but I don't have a real attachment to them because I was never really in that fandom. I was more familiar with Mortal Kombat, I had some of those games, but I'm not really a fighting game person. Still, something about the Jada toy line had me interested in getting these characters. I'm not sure what it was, something about the way they sculpted it, something about the colors, something about the arcade box, just has me interested in getting into this world, and who knows, I might even branch out and try giving the games a try. I am a gamer, this is Fett's Game Room, not just for toys, for video games. But taking a look at the box, we have, of course, a one-player, two-player hit point. Looks like player one is winning. I assume you're supposed to be player one. We have the button layouts and the joysticks. Player one, player two. We have Chun-Li's headshot profile picture there. Over here we have some nice art, which I imagine is probably the same art that was on the arcade cabinet. If not, it should have been, because that is beautiful. On the back we have, of course, Chun-Li, showing her country of origin and all the other characters, which they've put a lot of these characters out as figures. Even some of the ones like Evil Ryu and Violent Ken, I think that one's called. These two were con exclusives. And moving on to the other side, we have what I can only assume to be the other artwork for an arcade cabinet. Again, I don't know if that's I just don't know enough to know, but I hope it is, because that's brilliant artwork. I absolutely love that. I am going to try my best to get all of the Jada Street Fighter as well as the Jada Mega Man toys. We'll see. It's going to, of course, depend on funds and availability and, of course, exclusives. All that aside, let's take a look at Chun-Li. I thought the package thickness down here would not extend to the actual box, but it does, so I guess I have to go in from the bottom. And here she is, out of the box. That was an ordeal opening that box. I don't know if I want to do that again. Taking a look at her, she has some great detail. I love the crispness of the paint lines, and I actually really like that her dress is very soft. This is normally kind of stiff and hard to move, but with how soft it is, I don't see there being any problem posing her just about any pose that you would like to get her in with the joints that she has. But let's go ahead and continue with just the little turn around the character, taking all that detail. I've always loved Chun-Li's design, even though I don't really know anything about her. I need to read up on these characters, I really do. I'm sure there's some 4-hour history and chronology of Street Fighter that'll tell me everything I need to know. For scale-wise, I think she's 5-inch. She's a little bit too short, I think, to be 6-inch. And she's definitely nowhere near 7-inch, so I think she's around 5-inch. It's a good size. I don't know. It shows off detail well, but it won't take up much shelf space. I like it. She has all the articulation you would expect with a modern figure. Of course, she has the movable arms, double elbow joints, movable hands, and of course she can move these up, she can move these out, just any pose that you could think of to get her. And they've done a lot to hide the joints. Of course, it's Chun-Li, she has to be able to do the full splits. You can see here, she has the movement here, she has the double jointed knee, she has the foot that moves every way that it should, just all the articulation you would expect. It may not be coming across on camera, but her dress is textured. I'm not exactly sure what to call the texture, but I don't know, it's just an extra step that they probably didn't need to take, but I appreciate that they did. Chun-Li is a fighter, so of course out of the box she has her fists ready to go, ready to give you the business, because fighting is her business. She has an alternate set of open martial arts hands. They're great for additional posing, additional options, and while changing the hands I did find out that these wrist things are actually removable. You can completely take those off if you wanted to for some reason. She has an alternate angry shouting head for victory screeches. And of course she has a effects piece with a stand so you can make it look like she is doing her famous kicking technique. I should know the name, but I don't because I'm not a Street Fighter fan, but I do appreciate that you can pose her with her foot in the effect and that they have a stand so you can easily balance her so she is doing her kicking. I'll have to get someone later for her to kick. In fact, here, she can kick Starscream. He probably deserves it. And another thing that I want to point out before I forget is I really do appreciate the ease with which the hands can be popped off and interchanged. Some of these figures have been a nightmare to change their parts out, making me never want to change which ones they have on there. Some of them have been okay, but this is the first one that is so buttery smooth. Look how easy this head pops off. And now watch it go back on. How simple, how easy, amazing. And with that, let's go ahead and get Chun-Li added to the shelf. Before I add her to the shelf, I should mention that the box does have a nice video game background that you can remove and you can pose her in, so just wanted to let you know that that exists. I don't know if I'm keeping this or not. Probably not, but we'll see. Anyway, this time for real, off to the shelf. And last up, we have Katan from the Holocron collection, all translucent blue. I believe this lights up. Well, we'll get to see everything that happens in there, but either way, it's interesting. Holocrons, of course, are ways that just little holographic things in the Star Wars universe that people can either use to communicate or just be someone's photo. It's really interesting, and I like that they're doing a toy line that sort of, oh yeah, a little light bulb definitely. Oh, there, it says right there, lights up. No question, it lights up. But it's just interesting. You would think they would have done something like this a long time ago, but either way, super excited to take a look at this figure. I mentioned that this one was a little bit special, and that's because it was a gift from my wife. Let me tell you people, if you get a partner that can give you support, even in the things that are financially irresponsible, that's a keeper right there. So of course I wanted to get her onto the shelf as soon as possible, so let's go ahead and get her opened up. Of course, batteries aren't included. Alright, but here we have Katan out of the package. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see the detail, because, I mean, there is a lot here. This figure is very detailed, just as detailed as it would be if it was painted, but of course she is all translucent, so even I can't see very much without putting her up close. But of course she still is a Star Wars Black Series, which means she has all of the posability, all of the articulation you come to expect with the Star Wars Black Series figures. So her biggest thing, of course, is that she is translucent to light up like a holocron. I don't know how easy it will be to see, but her hand here kind of warped in the package. The translucent plastic is a little bit soft, so I might be able to get that worked out by getting her guns into her hand. That took a little bit of fiddling, but I was able to get this gun in the hand with the finger on the trigger. I'm probably going to leave it like that, just so this hand gets back to where it should be. It should go back on its own with holding the weapon there. Of course, she does have a holster on both sides that you can put the guns into if you would want to, but this one at least is going to stay in her hand. She has a backpack that you can just clip on. A little peg there that it just kind of pushes into place, just giving her that little extra bit of detail. And of course her helmet, which slides right onto her head. And she looks amazing. There's the complete Katan, and she looks quite amazing. I'll be excited to see her all lit up. Batteries in place. This thing is actually quite a bit brighter than I thought it would be, so I guess we'll see what happens when we put the figure on there. There is also a little Star Wars language, alien language thing, probably just says Bo-Katan, that sort of fits into here, but I don't know, I'm not going to include it in this part. But one last thing we're going to do before I light this up is we're actually going to record in the dark. It's all dark and spooky. Let's light her up. How about that? Hopefully this is coming across well in the video without the light. Just wanted to let you see sort of what it looks like, how bright it is. The translucent plastic is good, but it would have been good if they actually had some sort of... Apparently that only stays on for a certain amount of time. It would have been nice if they had sort of a light piping, but speaking of light, let's go ahead and get those back on. And here she's lit up in the light, which has a similar effect, but it looked really good in the dark. What I was saying is I do wish that they had sort of a light piping to send the light all the way through her body, just to make her light up better. Maybe if she had some electronics in her to get sort of a glowing from the middle. I don't know, something, just a little extra step to make her glow some more, but as it is, fantastic character. I love the idea. I don't know if I'm going to have her displayed lit up. I don't know if there's any way to make this stay on or if it will always sort of turn off after a few minutes. Either way, absolutely love this. Thank you so much to my wonderful wife for getting it for me, but now it's time to get it on the shelf. And with 4 new figures to add to the toy shelf, we wrap up another episode of Toy Corner. I thank you so much for joining in, for watching this all the way to the end. If you're here, you're amazing, and I thank you for that, for joining me on this journey into becoming a toy collector. I suppose at this point I already am a toy collector, but my continuing journey to build my collection. If you haven't already, let's make sure to spread just a little bit of kindness. Let's take social media back from the toxicity. Together, we can do it. And most importantly, remember to take care of yourself, take care of each other, simply take care.